After his State of the Union address, President Biden was overheard on a hot microphone, saying Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu needs a come-to-Jesus moment. Biden insists military action in the southern Gaza city of Rafa is a red line Israel must not cross without a plan in place to protect innocent Palestinian lives. Well, joining us with more is Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem. Madam Deputy Mayor, it's good to have you with us. So how did you react when you heard about President Biden's hot mic comments?
Well, first of all, we have to say things as they are. And President Biden has sent unprecedented support to the state of Israel since the beginning of the war. He came to Israel. He's shown enormous empathy. And I think he's kind of in a tight spot himself electorally with some of his constituents. And I think he has to show a little bit of kind of tough love on Israel. Unfortunately, we know there's 4 battalions left of terrorists in Rafa. We know that all our hostages are in Rafa. We also know that Yahya Sinwar, who is the mastermind of this entire war, and of course, what started the war, which was a horrible, brutal massacre such as the country has never known, is also in Rafa. So how on earth are we supposed to finish this war and win this war if we don't go to Rafa?
Well, CNN is reporting that U.S. intelligence assessments suggest Prime Minister Netanyahu's viability as a leader may be in jeopardy. Is that an accurate assessment, or does it suggest that U.S. intelligence is working to oust Israel's leader during a time of war?
Well, I really can't comment on U.S. intelligence. I'm not a defense expert. But all I can tell you is that we have to rely on Israeli intelligence that tells us exactly where the hostages are, where the mastermind is, and where the rest and the majority of the battalions that are left are. It makes sense. We've already won the battle of the north of Gaza, so we know that the terrorists have moved to the south of Gaza. We do have a plan in place to protect civilians. We have different areas where civilians can go. And it's very, very interesting that nobody's putting any pressure on Egypt, the country that has a border in Rafah, to try and take in, well, at least the women and the children for temporary refuge. Why is the pressure not on Egypt that actually needs the United States much more than the United States needs Egypt?
And why isn't the pressure on Hamas to release the hostages that it kidnapped? The United States is airdropping humanitarian relief to Palestinians, and now the president and the Pentagon say they plan to deliver aid by sea, constructing a temporary pier on Gaza's coast. Is this being coordinated with the Israeli government? I know President Biden hasn't talked with Bibi Netanyahu in about a month.
Well, I believe that it's being coordinated with the Defense Ministry. I don't see how anybody can build a port in a number of weeks. I think that might be a little unrealistic. But, you know, Israel does everything it can to protect innocent civilians. And if the American government want to deliver more aid, then of course they're absolutely welcome, as is any country.
We're now in the Islamic holy month of Ramadan. It appears unlikely that a ceasefire will be negotiated to get the 100 Israeli and American hostages back, at least until Ramadan ends in April. So is there any hope of a breakthrough? What are your expectations? And I know you're concerned about Ramadan.
Absolutely, because Ramadan is always a month that Hamas manipulate people with lies. They tell them that the Jews or the Israelis are storming Temple Mount. We're going to close Temple Mount, which of course is the third holiest site for Muslims. It is the first holiest site for Jews. And we, in fact, sacrifice our own freedom of worship in order to keep things calm. But this is kind of the Hamas playbook. Every year they do the same thing.
A Jewish group representing families and victims of the October 7th terrorist massacre in Israel has filed a federal lawsuit against UNRA USA. The Jewish Advocacy Center alleges that the nonprofit United Nations Relief and Works Agency, USA, quote, operated a terrorist financing scheme in violation of federal law, must be held accountable for supporting that attack. Your thoughts on UNRWA USA and this lawsuit?
Well, let me just tell you that we heard a few days ago that a social worker, so-called, of UNRWA took a body of a soldier over, a dead body of a soldier that was killed by terrorists over to Gaza to hold that dead body, I don't know, hostage. It's really very sad. We know that the majority of UNRWA workers are local in Gaza, are involved with Hamas. Hamas and UNRWA have become synonymous. UNRWA is an organization that was created in 1949 and basically has spent the last 75 years trying to reverse the declaration of independence of the State of Israel. They have no interest in resettling refugees. They have an interest in keeping the conflict open, keeping the wound open. And, UNRWA is the only organization in the world that grants refugee status by birth.
And we know that UNRWA USA has supported UNRWA with at least $5 million in the last 2 years. And while relief comes... Go ahead.
Yeah, those dollars have gone to terrorists to help build tunnels. The last thing that UNRWA has done is help the Palestinian people, and I'll say even more. The hostility and the hatred that comes from Gaza is also a result of UNRWA school network, which teaches the Palestinian school book, which teaches anti-Semitism, hatred and glorification of martyrs. And the UN and UNRWA have known this for a very long time, and they have ignored it, kicked the can down the road from changing it to a curriculum of peace and coexistence.
And you're the deputy mayor of Jerusalem. Many American Jews and Christians make an annual pilgrimage to Israel during Passover and Easter, and they may hesitate a bit this year because of the Hamas war. So how risky is it right now to visit Israel and tour the holy sites?
Well, Jerusalem is actually so safe that it's become a city of refuge. We still have the evacuees from the north of the country, and they're staying in the majority of the hotels. So we've gone from a city of tourism to a city of evacuees, a city of refuge. I know that many of those hotels will now be hosting people for Passover, and I hope and pray that all our pilgrims, Jewish and Christians alike, will return to Jerusalem soon. Jerusalem is a safe place to come to at the moment, thank God.
It's a great city. Okay, Fleur Hassan-Nahoum, Deputy Mayor of Jerusalem, Tuda Rabah.
Thank you so much.